Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for another what? What is it, Hanny? It's time for another what?
Episode
Of
The Whole Punch Pod.
cast.
You finish all my sentences. This is why we're so good as hosts together.
You already know what it is, man. You already know what it is. Anyway, thank you everybody who listened to our last episode. And thank you, Mushfiq, for leaving a question in the comments. You're the only person, and I really appreciate it. I just want to say that. We will answer your question at the end of this episode. Anyway, moving on. My name is Abed, and
I'm Hanny.
And today we have a very special guest with us. Annie, why don't you introduce our guest to the listeners?
This is gonna be tough. I might start crying. Okay. This special guest today is somebody who, throughout my years here at Virginia Tech, or as long as I've known him for, has been very near and dear to my heart. He's probably the most genuine, the most caring individual that I have had the pleasure of knowing. And it breaks my heart to see him leaving, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do. We're going to talk to him about it.
Let's not spoil it.
Spoiler alert. Jaffar is here, guys.
It's Jaffar. How you doing today, Jaffar?
I'm doing good, and that was a solid intro. I almost cried.
Dude, I had to even like hold back and just say like some basic stuff just to not,
He had me there. All right. Anyway, Jaffar, before we begin the introduction and before we talk about you, I just wanted to say thank you for coming out today and for being a guest. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's an honor.
Thank you for having me. It's a great show. I watched the first episode. It was very entertaining.
Of course, man.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. You know, it's honestly, you know, it feels good to have you on here, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we do.
Of course, I definitely do.
All right, I'll let Hanny take over and introduce you.
All right, let's get it. So I just wanted to basically ask you some things maybe I don't even know about you yet. So where were you born? Like, where did you grow up? You know, all this stuff. Just give us your like life story, as abridged or as unabridged as you'd like to say it.
Okay. So I was born in Hyderabad, India, and I stayed in India for about 6 months. And me and my mom stayed in India, and my dad was in Saudi working at the time. And 6 months later, he decided to bring my mom and me to Saudi, and that's pretty much when I started living there.
Nice. And how long did you live in Saudi for?
Pretty much till college. So I'd say about 18 and a half years.
Nice.
Yeah.
How'd you... Oh,
I have a question to ask, you know, if you don't mind me. Your English is pretty solid. Would you care to, because 18 years in a foreign country, it sounds like, you know, you'd come having some difficulty speaking English. I mean, I wouldn't know. Did you go to a private school or something?
So initially when I first went there, I went to kindergarten and stuff, but that didn't really count for too much of my English.
Yeah.
I went to an Indian school at first for about, I'd say like 3 years. So I did have an Indian accent, you know, like your typical Indian accent. And then I went from there to a British school for about 6 to 7 years. And I straight up had a British accent. I developed it over like the next couple of years. So this is a pretty drastic change right there. You know, learning the language of the colonizers or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, because I actually went to private school for about, 12 years. Or, when I was 12 is what I mean. And then, I came here, and even though my English was terrible at first, I picked up on it really fast. I did have an accent when I first came here, like in 7th grade. And then it just kind of disappeared by 9th grade. So I see where you're coming from. People always ask me that same question. It's like, how do you know that? It's like, you spend a lot of time in school. They teach you a lot of English. But at the same time, you, like, watch movies, maybe listen to music. You play video games, that kind of thing.
I mean, for me, it was more than just that. It was, like, my teachers itself. So after going to that British school, our school decided to take... So our school was split into, like, an American half and the British half. And I think when I was in about, I'd say 6th or 7th grade, they sort of merged the two together. And it was basically, they said an international school, but it was basically an American school.
Mhm.
and so that's basically where I ended up with the accent I have right now.
I see what you're
And
saying.
it's a lot from also like just interacting with all like my friends, because a lot of them did like come from Canada, come from America, and then a lot of my teachers do the same thing. So I think when you're just around people just talking a certain way, you start to develop it. I know my language, and I'm not sure about accent, but my language has changed when I came here.
Mhm.
I started talking
Mhm.
and then used terms like in a brick.
Mhm.
Like that was something new to me.
DMV slang.
DMV
Yeah.
slang is lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to drop the British accent then?
Um, I would say it was actually pretty quick. I'd say it was about like within, I'd say like a year and a half.
Hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Wait, so did you come straight to tech or did you go somewhere else first?
No, so from high school I came straight to tech. Yeah.
Mhm. I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, that's pretty interesting because there's a lot of international students. So it's definitely interesting to see how your experience is different from somebody else's experience. Because especially when you go to a private school, it's a drastic difference because everybody, every school is different with how much it cares about, language education and that kind of thing. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so you said after this, like just continue, I guess, kind of from where you were at in your story of your life.
So I guess like so after I started living in Saudi, I went to the Indian school. I went to the British school after, and then progressed to the American school, and then that was probably some of the best years of my life, because that's where I made some of my friends who I know will last me through my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I can always hit them up if I ever need them,
I
and
see.
like we're just really close. I think part of the reason we were so close was because at that time in Saudi there wasn't really like too much you could do besides going to school and having fun with friends,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mhm.
you're pretty much limited to this one crowd. And more than that, so after eighth grade, or after ninth grade actually, I went to another school that was roughly about 75 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to travel there every day.
Dang.
And we had a bus, and we would stay in the bus every day for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on traffic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one way. So both ways is 4 hours. So
Dang.
me and my friends, we spent a lot of time together. Our bus was basically our home. We had blankets, pillows, and everything, and like they basically became like brothers and sisters to me. And yeah, like, and when you spend that much time with them, there's been days I spend more time with out of the house than in. So
True.
in some points they're much closer to me than like I'd see them a lot more than even my family.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily say we're closer,
Yeah.
but I'd see them
Mhm.
a lot more.
Mhm. And just as a question, I hope this is not like too personal or anything, but just out of curiosity. So, and you stayed with these friends during all of your school years, or just like a specific? Like, were you still with them at the end of high school and all that?
Yeah. So the up till from 10, 11, and 12, all those grades,
Mhm.
I went to the same high school, and we were all in the same the same bus,
Mhm.
and we just
You got to know each
basically
other.
we got to know each other really well,
Mhm.
and like just made bonds for a lifetime, I guess. Like
Mhm.
we hated it at the time, like just traveling all that, but
Uh-huh.
we also recognized the opportunity it gave for our friendship and for our relationships to build and stuff.
Definitely. And I guess the question that I was moving towards was, so how did everyone from your class, how did your friends, how did they spread out when it came to college? Like, I know you came here, so like, what were your friends doing? What are your friends doing now? Where did they go?
So a lot of my friends, these are just like the people I mentioned were just from like, I lived in a city called Jabal.
Mhm.
That's where these friends are from. And I had also other friends from like other cities that also came to the school.
Mhm.
And most of my friends from high school, some of them, a big portion of them came to the States. Some went to Canada. Actually, a big portion went to Canada too. And then there's a big portion in the Middle East as well. Some went to like AUB in Lebanon,
Mhm.
and like some went to like like RCSI. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a medical school over in Bahrain,
Mhm.
and like there's a few other schools that a bunch of people went to.
Mhm.
But yeah, for the most part, I'd say the Middle East a little bit, the States, and Canada. And in the States, they're literally all over. They're everywhere.
Okay, interesting. And so what I want to ask you is, what made you want to come to the United States or Virginia Tech in specific? What was your reasoning?
So, I mean, I've had heard of tech at when I was in high school, because like our college counselors did to speak about it and stuff, and they're just talking about good universities. They're just talking about good universities in the States, and yeah, like because when you're that far away from the States, like you only know them, you only know schools by like their names, and you sort of have to look them up by reputation and stuff. And there's you don't really get to like do college visits like I'm sure you guys did here and stuff. So for me, it was more of what it was academically capable. I really didn't know too much about. Honestly, before I came, I didn't really know what the campus looked like, and like, wow, it looks gorgeous, but like I didn't know that. I got really lucky with it.
So yeah, you took your chances and it ended up working out.
Yeah, and I mean, my main school, to be honest, was Urbana-Champaign, the UIUC, and I didn't get into that.
Where is
And
that?
That's in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, and I guess I ended up here.
Do you have any family in Virginia or anything like that?
Yeah, I do have like distant family in Manassas. I used to go to their house every now and then, but
Nothing too
like,
crazy.
to be honest, like I didn't really even know they sort of existed till like I started coming to college.
It was like kind of awkward to
Yeah, exactly,
over there,
exactly.
yeah.
Like I mean, they're great people.
Makes
Like
sense,
they,
yeah.
they took me in and everything. So like I'm thankful for them. But
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so do you just stay here during breaks and stuff like that?
for the most part, yeah. The past couple of breaks I have stayed here,
Mhm.
and then there's this Thanksgiving break I was actually in Nova, which was a lot of fun.
Who did you stay with?
So I stayed with Danish. He lives in Gainesville. I
Mhm.
stayed with him for 2 days. That was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And then I stayed with Idris as well, and he lives in Falls Church.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was really cool just staying with both of them, because it was just like a drastic change of environment from Blacksburg, and it was a drastic
Yeah.
change of environment from both of them, because most people in Nova, have like this like house and stuff. And Idris lives like in this really like tall apartment building,
Mhm.
and the view from it is just like spectacular. And I've
Yeah.
been telling him and a lot of people this, because I just really like where he lives.
So
Yeah,
So
no-
who did you like living with better then?
I don't think I liked anyone more than
Come
the
on,
other.
dude.
See, that's some
Come
BS.
on,
Yeah,
That is
like,
some
Come
BS.
on. That's like
That
when you
is
ask
some
your
BS.
parents who do you like better.
No,
And
like
they say I love my kids
no,
all
I'm
equally.
like I'm being
Dude,
completely honest.
Tell
like,
us. We'll
Come on,
censor it
dude.
out.
Don't worry
They
about
don't
it.
have to know.
Yeah.
They don't have to know.
No, I'm being completely honest. Like they're like I love living with Danish. Like it was a lot of fun just those 2 days. And Idris also, like, I loved staying there,
Yeah.
because it was just a different. It was just a refreshing feel, because like most houses I've been to in Nova are like like houses, and they're
Yeah.
like a house setting.
Mhm.
But his was like an apartment, so it was like just a different vibe, and it was just
Yeah.
really cool.
How was your interaction with their families?
It was pretty good. I like with Danish, like his family is like Pakistani and stuff, obviously, and like so it was like I talked to them in Urdu and stuff,
Oh,
and
that's nice.
and they're really nice people. Like they knew like I was staying there. They offered me like like a place to stay,
Yeah.
good food, home cooked food. It was all good. And then same with Idris, like his parents are really nice, and I talked to them for a little bit.
Do you speak
and-
to them in Urdu or?
No,
No?
I don't
Okay.
think Idris'
Yeah.
parents speak Urdu.
I don't
Yeah.
know, man. Never know.
You never know. People could surprise you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I really appreciate both of their parents allowing me to stay over.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And like just they made some really good food.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a big difference in environments between here and Northern Virginia, and it's a drastic change, and especially even up there, there's differences based on where you are.
Yeah.
Like being in Arlington City is a much more different experience from being in like Falls Church or Fairfax. Like each one is different in its own right. I'd say that the only place. All right, Henny, I gotta ask you a question.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know if Jaffar would be an expert on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Where do you draw the line
For
between
what?
Nova and not Nova?
Nova and not Nova. That's a really good question. I've heard people calling up to where. I've heard Leesburg is Nova. Ever?
Honestly, what else? I mean, I want your opinion. I don't want.
I
what
don't
you
know.
heard.
Like for me, it's like Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria. That's like Nova to me at least.
So what part? Okay, would you consider? Let me think a little bit below
Yeah.
Fairfax. Would you consider? Okay, what about Chantilly and Centerville? That's where I live.
I feel like that's not Nova.
You feel like that's not Nova?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, bitch? We're in Fairfax County, so that's Nova.
You know what? You're just trying to get on the Nova steez. You're just trying to put it in your Twitter.
Dude, you went to
Bio.
Hayfield. You went to Hayfield.
Hayfield
dude.
is probably the most Nova high school you could probably.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing. It's not a Nova in a good way, dude.
It's pretty lit, honestly.
I don't know what you're talking about. I went there for a couple of years.
You see how great I am as a person. Do you see how beautiful I am?
I really
It's because
don't.
I went to Hayfield and I learned.
You know, I went to
so
Hayfield
much.
too.
Yeah, but you weren't there for that long, so you're not as.
I feel like
good
that's
as
what saved me.
me.
I feel like that's what saved me. Like I was falling into darkness, but then my parents moving saved my
Let's
ass.
talk about that darkness. Let's
Okay, this is about Jaffar. This is not
let's
about you.
dive
And me.
into
This is
it.
not about you and me, dude. You
guys see those
you're
sound waves?
loud. You're loud.
Sorry, man.
Let me say one thing.
I'm
okay?
not
Let me
sick
say one
anymore. I
thing.
just gotta get my voice out there.
Let me say one thing. The Nova line is drawn between Centerville and Manassas. I don't know if you've ever been to Manassas, but
I've
that
been to
shit
Manassas.
is literally the cut. It's
True,
literally
yeah,
the cut.
I agree.
Manassas, Gainesville. I don't know how you can consider that Nova.
What about
Centerville-
Woodbridge?
Huh? Woodbridge? I don't know. I feel like it isn't, but like
I feel like it's borderline Nova. Like,
yeah. I don't know. It's hard to
I
judge.
guess it all depends on your perception of what Nova is.
Yeah, I mean Jaffar is not. I don't think that he has. Do you have something to say about that?
Not too much. I mean, I've only seen Nova in visiting.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I feel like I've been to almost all of Nova just over the years, but yeah, I don't really know much about it.
No input.
Yeah. Do you think Gainesville is Nova though?
No.
I mean, that's where I stayed, and I'd like to think it's Nova because that's what Danish told me.
Gainesville, Maryland is Nova too.
I don't
Gainesville.
know what that
Okay,
is.
Maryland is definitely not Nova.
Maryland is definitely not Nova.
Do you know what Nova stands for?
That's what I'm saying.
No, there's a
I actually
Gainesville
don't.
in
What does it
Virginia,
stand for?
dude.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought you were staying in Maryland.
No.
No, dude.
No,
Isn't that what you guys were telling me when we?
Yo,
I actually
no.
saw him at
Hanny,
what?
are you looking?
Yeah.
Tie your shoes, B, because you're tripping right now. I don't know what made you think he was talking about Maryland. Nova literally stands for Northern Virginia. Like I don't understand what.
But
I mean, okay, let's.
you see how?
You know what? Because I'm gonna fight you over this, dude. I
I
can't
feel
believe
like
you
you
just insulted my culture.
My culture. Okay. Listen here, you little.
Wow. What? What should I listen to?
You don't have to listen to anything really.
Yeah, that's why if you keep talking, I'm just gonna ignore you from now on.
Okay. Do we have to talk about whether or not there's gonna be another episode after this? Or? I feel like this will be clear at the end of this episode. All right.
This will be very clear to the listeners and to all the true fans who support me in everything that I do and understand who puts
How many
work.
of those are there?
Let me look at how many views we have on YouTube.
I feel like they're mostly
It's 100%.
from people who support me, bro.
I don't know about that. You literally texted like 2 people, okay? Let's not get into this. Hanny, I'll literally roast you to the ground, dude.
Whoa. Can we?
Do you guys remember when I was here?
Oh, yeah,
Actually-
we forgot.
Oh, we have a guest. Oh, Jaffar, you're here? What's up, dude?
I don't feel like it.
What do you think of this beef? That do you think it's healthy for us to be podcast hosts together? Because
I mean, I'm just gonna say like, Nova's Nova, and like,
we're still talking about that.
it's like pretty stupid to fight about. There's definitely other things you could be fighting about, but I don't think
Make a
Nova's one of them.
proposition.
No, we're not fighting, Hanny. Leave that for off the podcast.
Yeah, we'll do it afterwards. That's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, you have more to say, I'm sure. You have more to ask of Jaffar, so I'll let you do that.
All right, Jaffar, you are leaving me here by myself.
Everyone, actually, us.
But nobody knows Jaffar like I do, and nobody cares about Jaffar as much as I do. Not
that's a
even
little
his
conceited.
parents. Not even his parents. Okay.
Fair enough.
So I think Jaffar is more just leaving me than anybody else. So
What do you have to say
yeah,
about that?
well, why are you moving, dude? What's tell us about that? Why'd you decide to do that? Everything. Just tell us.
Well, I really thought about it. I mean, it's not a decision that happened overnight. I feel like a small part of me has been thinking about it for a few semesters now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I just sort of told myself, push through, get this done, graduate and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then I seriously thought about it and like, yeah, if I push, if I work hard, I'll graduate. I'll
Yeah.
get I wouldn't say like an amazing job,
Mm-hmm.
but like a job.
Job, yeah.
And then, yeah, I can have a job and everything, but I feel like I'd be losing family because my family is literally thousands of miles away, and seeing them is not that easy.
Yeah.
And like for example, like I haven't seen my family since January.
Well,
Like I've been in Blacksburg since January. That's pretty sad to be honest.
yeah.
And yeah, like if I, my what is it called? My visa technically expires after this year, so I'd have to get it renewed. And if it doesn't, in the off chance that it doesn't get renewed, that means I can't travel outside the States for my last year. So I wouldn't be able to see my family in that whole last year. And I don't think I could probably see them right after too, because just the way like how my OPT and everything works,
Yeah.
I'd have to be like, I'd be working. I'd
What's
have to be
what's
staying
a
in the States.
OPT? What is that?
I honestly can't remember what it stands for.
Okay.
I'll
think it's
I'll
What's it
take
all
care of that.
about,
Give me
though?
a second. I'll
I
do
think
the
it's
research.
optional practical training,
Uh-huh.
something along the lines of that.
What does that have to do with getting your visa?
So it's so when you graduate for international students, there's a year where you can sort of
Yeah, it's optional practical training. Yeah.
Nice.
good stuff. I knew my stuff.
Dude,
But yeah, it's
so smart.
basically a year where you can sort of just like it's basically an adjustment period for you to start working, and you really can't really like leave the States in that time. And I'm sure there's some certain conditions you can, but like for the most part, most people don't.
Yeah.
So that's another additional year I wouldn't be able to see my family. So that's already
That
like
sucks,
2
yeah.
years, and they could come here and stuff, but like that'd only be for like like a couple days and stuff.
Yeah.
And after that, once I start working, I can only go back. I'll only get like a 2 week. I think it's like a 2 week vacation in most cases. So for those 2 weeks, going back is like 2 days, coming back is 2 days.
Yeah.
So I only technically spend like a week and a half with my family for the next couple of years.
That sucks.
And like, I could have all the money in the world. Like I could be like the richest man, but it means nothing if I'm gonna lose family over it, because it's like material things versus relationships.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's deep, man.
exactly. Like it is, and I think it's rightfully deep too. Like, and yeah, because like for example, like my sister, like she's just turned 13 recently, and like she's growing up, and I feel like I should be there for her, because these are like the crucial years of the life where she's just understanding what life is, and I feel like these next few years are gonna shape basically the kind of person she's gonna be, and I feel like I should guide her, and more than guide her, sort of learn from my mistakes essentially, and just sort of guide her through life, and like basically help shape the kind of the inshallah, like the amazing person she's going to turn out to be, and she
Inshallah.
already is in my opinion, alhamdulillah. And
Alhamdulillah,
yeah, and like also like alhamdulillah, like both my grandparents from my mom's side are alive and well, and I feel like I don't spend enough time with them, and like they're alhamdulillah like alive and well now, but unfortunately they are getting older, and I definitely should be spending more time with them, and I just don't want to regret it at the end of the day, that if I don't spend enough time with them, and just you can't get back that time you lost.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I'm with you every step of the way. I guess the only difference between our situations is that my family is like my direction. My parents and my sisters are with me here. They live in Virginia too, so we I've spent some time here and we live here. But I totally understand what you're saying in regards to your family. Your grandparents, your aunts. It's definitely impacted me, and I came here in 2011, and it's been I spent 4 years. So the first time I visited was summer 2015, and that was the first time I went back to Jordan since moving here, and I haven't gone back since. And my problem is, so my mother and my sister are going over during the summer. They're going back to visit. I really really want to do that, but at the same time, I would have had to compromise an internship. And honestly, as a second year or like as like an early year engineering student, it's definitely hard to get an internship. So I feel like I kind of lucked out. And I don't know if either of these two people are listening to this, but Fawad and Tokir, if you guys are listening to this by any chance, I just want to say thank you because you guys really helped me out a lot in regards to the internship. Um, anyway, so I think it's a hard decision to make. So there's definitely some sacrifices that you have to make, and just like you said, at some point it just comes down to realizing what really matters more to you, whether it's the relationships or the money. And now I'm not saying that I don't like my family and that I don't care about them or anything, but it's definitely from the aspect that I know, like, I just need to do what I have to do right now, and
Yeah, exactly.
hopefully at the end of the day that it all works out. So
It's very mature.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
for sure.
Everybody,
No, everyone has a different path, man.
Yeah, exactly.
We all end up in the same place, inshallah, but like, we all have the same
Inshallah.
path.
Yeah.
Or on different paths, sorry. Yeah.
The same path to success. Let's
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
not specifically the same path, but we all want to go
Yeah.
towards success.
Yeah, we all make different decisions. We all like go off on tangents that, deviate from other people, but it's all because everyone has a different path. And
Yeah.
that's all it is at the end of the day.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
people stress a lot about making decisions based on how it would impact not only themselves but other people. But at the end of the day, if you know in your heart that it's the right decision, then everyone else's opinion should matter for a little bit, but it shouldn't affect your decision.
I see what you're saying. So, if anybody is having a conflict right now, any sort of conflict, just in general, what words of advice would you have for them?
Wow. Okay. I would say, if it's a conflict between like necessarily like two people, and especially if they are, for example, if they were friends once and some they still like in their if they still like at some level care about each other, that don't forget that, like, don't forget you still like care about this person. Don't forget like all the good times you've had with this person. And like if there's a conflict, just talk it out. Like that's all it is. Like if you care about this person and you still want them in your life, just make it absolutely clear, make it completely be honest. And the biggest thing I would say is keep it between you and that person. And if you want to get someone else involved, like make sure like the other person would be comfortable with it, and like only go to them for like solid strong advice, and make sure it stays within that tight circle. Because once it starts leaking, like people hear about it, and like words get back to the other person that you may not have necessarily said.
That those are some really beautiful words
pretty
right
woke.
there.
It's pretty woke, honestly. Like,
That's
Jafar,
yeah.
This is why I wanted to
I like
have
to-
this
I like to
man on
think
the
I'm pretty
podcast.
woke.
He's
But
pretty woke, honestly.
yeah. Way
I
too
don't think
woke
I've
for
ever
us.
seen him sleeping, honestly.
He
was lying in Uzair's bed earlier. He had his eyes completely open.
Yeah, I mean, if he ever quote unquote sleeps, he's just taking a really long blink.
That's what I'm
Let's
saying.
just
Yeah,
make that
like
clear.
that's all it is.
That's all it is, guys.
Just a
Don't
long
overthink
blink.
it.
Stays woke.
And I guess what I was and
Sleep
another
is for the
thing that
weak,
I
you
want to
know?
ask
Honestly, right.
is, what words would you have to say, or what words would you have to say to somebody who's having an inner conflict, something like you were having? That's what I want to ask you. So, would you say follow your heart or think about it? What would you say?
That's a great question, actually. I would say, in my opinion, to be a combination of both, because I feel like at some level you always know what you want, and when you think about it, those feelings that are at that certain level just come up higher on the surface level. You can actually think about it. Because for me, I feel like for this decision, for example, like I think a big part of me, or not necessarily big, but a small part of me has always known that I should do this, stay closer with family for a few years before I head out into the world and everything like that. And just like thinking about it and talking to other people about it, I talked to Khalid about it for over a really nice long dinner. And
What'd you guys eat?
Himalayan curry.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
great
think
place.
I've never even eaten there yet.
You should check it
actually.
out. It's a great place.
We
You
we should go
Where
there
is
together.
It's
Next to
in
the
the
Ampo.
Math Empo, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
right in that same building. It's
The
right next to Highway 55.
University Mall.
Yeah,
Okay.
the people there are really great. Good food and everything.
Wait,
Did
how
they know
close
you
is that?
by
Wait.
name or?
Huh?
Do they know you by name?
I don't know if they know me by name, but they know me by face. Like
That's what's
whenever
up.
I have like a
They're
small
like,
talk
"Hey,
conversation. Yeah,
you?"
exactly. Exactly. When he always says like he smiles, he says hi and everything.
That's good.
The owner.
Is it like right next? Where the sushi, bubble tea places, right?
Yeah, it's very close to that. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
That's
cool.
on the
I've
inside
never
of the
been there.
mall.
a
This is
lot.
on the outside of the mall.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, going back to what I was saying, I was talking to Khalid, and he gave me some solid advice. And if you talk to someone who who you respect, and who you think can give you a solid advice,
Mm-hmm.
then go talk to them and hear what they have to say. And for me, for example, I'm like it's a flaw. I don't know if it's necessarily a flaw, but a certain attribute of my personality, the way I think, is I'm influenced by decisions. I would say fairly easily, like a little more than I should be. Like not decisions, sorry, opinions, other people's opinions. Like I sway like easier than I should.
Yeah,
And
you
the
don't
way
want that.
and the way I counteract that is I use that to my advantage and get as many points of view as I
Yeah,
can. And I
that's
sort
good.
of like when you have two opposing views, you just sort of end up in the middle, and
Yeah.
you still can make
Mhm.
that your own decision with that. And yeah, that's kind of what I did. I talked to multiple people who had different opinions, and when I finally talked to them and got all their opinions together, it still made sense to me that I should do this.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when I legitimately thought about it and made the decision that I should go back to my family.
It's
some
important to
time.
definitely get like multiple views on it and kind of take them all into account.
Yeah.
And let's
Exactly.
not just shout out Khalid on this. Who else did you talk to, dude?
I definitely talked to Hani about
Let's
it.
get it, dude. I
I
got the best
definitely talked
advice
to
out
Idris
here,
about
dude.
it.
My
I
advice game
definitely,
is strong.
yeah. I talked to multiple people about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And going off a little bit about
Did
what
you
you
talk
just
to a
said.
bit about it though?
No.
I don't think I talked
That's
to
what
Beth
I'm
about
saying.
it, but
Yeah,
no,
it took
but,
me a while to
like,
find out, but it's all good, man. It's all good in
Yeah,
my head.
I mean,
like I'm not
like
upset.
yeah, I talked to like a bunch of
Are
people.
you?
I talked to like
What kind of upset?
shout
though?
out to like Aditya, like my roommate, and he's been basically my best friend since one of my best friends, sorry, since freshman year.
Damn, dude,
If
you just
only you
coming
guys-
for me like that, dude.
If only you guys could see
My
Andy's
feelings are
reaction to
hurt,
that.
bro. I might
He
start
raised his
crying.
eyebrows so high.
Dang,
Oh my god.
Almost
dude.
merged
That was
hairlines
amazing.
there,
You know
right?
what I meant, Henny. You know I still love you.
That eyebrow was a hairline.
I'm not sure if
level,
I
dude.
know that anymore.
Is that even? Oh
necessarily.
my god, dude.
But yeah, no, I talked to
Ah,
like a lot of people about
jeez.
it. They definitely, gave me all their opinions, and yeah, and I valued their opinion, and that's why I asked them, and that's the key thing. I feel like if you're going through an internal conflict, take advice from people who you value. Like this is not the time for venturing out and like getting a random person's opinion that
Yeah.
you don't really. That you don't necessarily, like hang out with or like know them like that.
Is
Basically,
there ever a
Yeah.
time for that?
what do you mean?
Is there ever time for venturing out and getting a random person's opinion?
I mean, I feel like that would be more, like that'd be more when you're just starting to get to know them and it's like smaller decisions.
yeah,
you
like
know?
when you need
Yeah.
like a sandwich and you're like, what kind of
kind
sandwich?
of, yeah, kind of. Or even you're just like, oh, like I have to I have to go to this group meeting, but I also have this other commitment. Like, what would you say you do? Like, if
Yeah.
that person's just right next to you, like
Something that's not
yeah,
life
exactly.
changing.
It's not like unless you know them at a deeper level,
Mm-hmm.
like the big decisions should be left for the people who you do know at the deeper level.
Yeah, something like I found a quarter on the sidewalk. What do I do? You know, do
Yeah,
I
exactly.
try
I feel
to
like you
seek
could talk
out?
to a
Yeah,
stranger about that.
I know definitely.
Yeah.
And one thing that I, in that kind of situation, one thing that I don't like, I definitely can't stand unsolicited opinions. That's the shit I can't stand, dude.
I don't like
That's the shit I don't like. He's right. I honestly, I can't stand people who, I don't want to say barely know you, but like people who are there who think that they have influence on what the
Absolutely.
hell you should be
Get out
doing
my
with your
business,
life.
right? Am I right?
Like, I'm not saying don't listen to them, and I'm not saying that their opinion is 100% useless, but come on, dude. I didn't ask you.
If dude.
Yeah.
If I
Get out
wanted
of my
to know,
life.
I would have asked you. Like, I've had, and I'm sure you guys have, you've made some sort of decision, and people just came up to you, and they were like, oh, dude, I don't know how I feel about your decision,
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. Like, did I fucking ask
Yeah,
you?
you don't know me.
I didn't ask you. So, keep that
Fuck,
to
B.
yourself, dude. Keep that to yourself. I don't
So
need you.
honestly,
If you know what you're doing,
the
all
hell
right. If
outta
you know
here
what
with
you're
that
doing,
bullshit.
don't let people mess you up. Don't let people get you off track because, like you said, if you're easily influenced, people will take advantage of you. Believe it or not,
Exactly.
people will take advantage of you. And there's something that people just don't realize, that not everyone is gonna think like you. My reasoning for doing thing X is completely separate from your reasoning for doing
Exactly.
thing Y. You know what I mean? So unsolicited opinions, man, keep that shit to yourself, please.
Just
Exactly.
don't
And
talk.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think like what most people need to realize is that sure, other people can say things, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. Like,
Mm-hmm.
other people can say all they want, and like they may be, especially as someone you don't really necessarily fuck with. It's just like they can tell you their opinion, and you can take that into account. But whatever decision you make, the outcome affects you, not them.
Exactly.
So like, you know, don't completely discard it,
Yeah.
but also like keep someone who you don't really know, keep their opinion at an arm's length
Mhm.
before actually like
And
making the decision.
yeah, and sometimes it has to do a lot with this is not strictly, it doesn't exactly explicitly come down to this, but a good example is like the tone that you're asking the question. There's a difference of me asking you, why did you do this, versus why would you do this?
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? If you're curious,
Yeah.
you can ask it the first way. You can say, "Hey, can you explain to me your thought process, or what led you to make this decision?"
Yeah.
Versus, "Why would you do that? Why would you do that? This I wouldn't do that." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Unless it's like something completely stupid, then yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're about to do something completely stupid, okay, or you're doing something completely wrong, then okay, I think somebody would have to step in at some point.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something that doesn't really affect anybody or doesn't
Yeah.
really harm you, that's when people need to be careful
Yeah.
what the hell they're doing, or
Yeah.
what the hell they're saying.
No, that's a good point because like there's definitely like a way, and I'd love to ask a question like when you sort of when you want to know, like when you genuine like there's a difference between genuinely wanting to know what influenced the decision versus sort of just being like, why the fuck did you do this? Like
Yeah.
That's certainly true. Like, it's just people are complicated, man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you gotta keep one thing in mind, man. All you got is yourself. All you got is yourself, your real friends, and your family. Your real friends become apparent. You'll know who your real friends are when the time comes.
Yeah, exactly.
People begin to show it. I guess your biggest fuck up at that point, before that happens, is to rely on somebody, in a sense that you're making yourself vulnerable, and having them, take advantage of you in a sense. So that's I guess the only problem with that. But yeah, at the end of the day, just think of it like that. All you got is yourself, and
Yeah.
always look out for yourself, protect yourself, and respect your opinions, and don't let anybody else influence you or stop you from doing the things you want to do unless they're stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right.
And that's really all I have to say. So anyway, going back to the conversations that we were having about you. So I want to ask you, and I hope again this is not too personal. So what are you looking to do once you go back home and see your family?
So I wanna start college there, obviously, and I thought about it this a lot too, and I'm planning to switching into business, and
From what that is?
I'm computer engineering right now,
Right.
and a mechanical before, so I've made a few switches. But the thing is, I feel like I've gotten out of mechanical and computer engineering what I can, and and everything else I want to learn. For example, like coding and stuff. I feel like that would be something I could learn on my own. Like I'm not trying to undersell it by any way. Like it's still like pretty hard, but like I feel like that's doable. But the thing is, at the end of the day, when all the dust is settled, like after I put in all my work, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like I want to have my own business and I want to run it. And the main reason behind that, as stupid as it may sound, is I'm just bad at following instructions. That's all it is. And I don't want to follow instructions. Like I want to do my own thing. And eventually, like I don't want to just have one business. I want to sort of build up a couple businesses. And I feel like the one thing I really do want to do is sorry, one second.
Take your time.
Just something in my throat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to do is I want to open a prosthetics company. Basically, I want to make prosthetics much cheaper than they are, and I feel like they're unnecessarily expensive right now. Like, there's some prosthetics that are 30, 40 grand.
Can you, and before we move on, can you tell me and the audience what prosthetics are?
You know, like they're basically like prosthetic limbs are, you know, for people, you know, who have lost their arms and lost their legs. Like, unfortunately, you know, there are people with certain conditions or certain, you know, like, or even like, you know, in accidents and stuff. And, you know, these are artificial limbs that help them move. And I'm not trying to, you know, like do like all the high end stuff like that some companies are doing, you know, like sort of integrated with your nerves and everything. But I'm trying to bring functionality and price at a point that it's affordable and functional at the same time. So like, you know, I kind of want to sell it at like a sub 1,000 price point, because I feel like that's where like that's a pretty good price for prosthetics, and the functionality I'm trying to offer is pretty good for that. And it also like it helps so many people, man. Like, there's so many people who just can't afford high end prosthetics and are just living like lives that they shouldn't have to. Like, money is run, you know, like money runs the world, but like if I can close the gap, I feel like it's just not only my vision but my responsibility to do so. And yeah, like one of the, like I just want to, like, you know, it sounds cliche and stuff, but I do want to better the world, and I feel like everyone
should do that.
not only should do that but wants to do that. Like, there's no certain person that's like, you know what, I'm gonna fuck this shit up. Like no one just wants to ruin the
There's
world
some people.
I mean, there are certain people, but I think even they have a
They
vision
thought
for
they
the
were-
world. Exactly.
they thought they
in their
were doing
mind
the
they're
right
bettering
thing.
the world. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, you know, when Hitler was like, you know, going about like his business, like in his mind he was bettering the world.
That's definitely what he had in mind, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, you know, obviously like that is not the case. But like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Everyone has a vision.
Are you
to
calling
better-
yourself Hitler? Is that
No,
what you're
no.
saying?
I mean,
No,
I wasn't gonna
I'm
say
saying
it, but
everyone.
if that's what you're saying, like, I'm not gonna.
I'm saying everyone has a vision to better the world, and you know, mine's definitely not batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
think-
definitely not. And I think, you know, you're doing a good thing, and
Yeah.
you're moving in the right direction, and
Exactly.
I really, you know, I
And-
really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And the thing is, I think it's a really good opportunity and time for me to go to India actually at the moment, because, you know, Donald Trump sort of messing things up over here, especially making it pretty hard for international students and all that. And I feel like it's a pretty good time to go
Take a
back
step
to
back.
India. I mean, the main reason I'm doing it is for family, like to spend, you know, about 3-4 years with them, build my relationships back up, like, because I feel like at this moment I'm pretty distant with like a lot of my family,
Right.
and it's definitely like, you know, it definitely gets to me, and I know it gets to them, and I think it's just about time I sort of man up and sort of admit my mistakes, and, you know, get closer to my family and build my relationships, so that even when I do leave them, you know, because I want to do my MBA eventually either in the States or Canada, and so even when I leave them, I still have that relationship. You know, I can still like consistently talk to them, and I just don't completely abandon them and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
And I think that's just what it is for me at the end of the day. Like, I didn't realize I was a family man till
recently.
exactly. Like, I mean, okay, that's a bad way to put it. Like I didn't realize I needed my family so much, and that, you know, they needed me till very recently, and that's when it all finally clicked in my head. It was a pretty crushing decision. Like, the weight of just me realizing that, man, that was some scary stuff.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you something here.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do prosthetics in your entrepreneurial
I mean, that's not like
ventures?
immediate. Like, that's not necessarily like that's one of the.
Yeah.
But like, I've always had a passion for it. Like, and it's mainly to help, because like, so one of the fortunate things I was always able to do, because I was brought up in Saudi, and the lifestyle in Saudi is pretty comfortable, especially where I lived. Like, is basically where all like the industrialists and all like the foreign people live. So like, it's a pretty closed off, pretty comfortable environment where you don't really get much exposure to anything else that's going on in the world.
Right.
Like, even crime, like there's no crime in too much crime in Saudi, man. Like, it's better than here, to be honest. And but every year my parents, you know, used to go back to India for 2 months over summer, 2-3 months, and we used to spend summer there. And when you go there, it's an eye opener. It's a very humbling experience. You actually, you know, like are in the midst of the real shit, and you see like people like going through struggles. Like India's developed a lot in the past years, but you know, you still unfortunately see like, you know, like beggars here and there, and people like who don't necessarily even have like I say about people all the time that like it's a pretty bad problem in India where they just like sort of cut limbs off children and send them
That's
to
the
beg.
thing.
Exactly. Like, have you seen Slumdog
God.
Millionaire, for example? Like, they sort of like purposefully like handicap children
Does
to
that
like because that basically entices more sympathy where people like they feel the need to like if you're to so if you're a, you know, if you're presented with two people, one's completely fine, the other's like missing like two arms, right? You would want to give money to that person that's missing two arms because you just automatically feel, yeah, like it's unfortunate, but like, you know, and like, yeah, like so it's like an eye-opening experience, you know, but like, you know, India's come a long way. That's like a lot lesser of a problem than it used to be. But I just want to like I heard a quote recently. It's that I think it went something like this. It's like the duty of the strong to protect the weak, and like and
That's some superhero shit right there.
like it kind of is. That's
Superman.
yeah.
We got Superman on the podcast, but I didn't know about it until now.
No, but like that's what it is. Like, you know, like we all have a responsibility to like better the world, and to better the world, you have to better the people who are in need.
That's definitely true, and I feel like that kind of correlates to bettering yourself at the same time.
Exactly.
If
like,
not at first.
exactly. Like, because when you're helping someone else, you don't really realize it, but you're helping yourself. Because if you're not like if you're so say like there's a person that really needs your help, right? And you're like, okay, like I'm gonna go help them. Then at the end of the day, that's one less person. Like, in a way you can look at it is that's one less person against you. The whole world is against you, but that's one less person that's going up against you.
That's
Like, I'm not
definitely
saying, you know, there's
interesting
like a massive war or something, but like
yeah.
like I'm just saying, like I feel like that's sort of like the rhetoric of like, you know, like all these terrorist organizations too, like they sort of like strive because like people are not helping people in need, so
Right.
they see these people who have nowhere to go, nothing to do, and sort of entice them with like this
Propaganda.
Exactly.
Tweeting and everything.
Exactly. And like if you can help like one person, that's one less person that's going to the bad side.
That's definitely true, and that's deep, man. That's some
Yeah.
deep shit right there.
Yeah.
Man, that's heavy, and I totally agree with you on that. And I guess, yeah, I've never thought about it that way. That's an interesting way to look at it. And you know, at the end of the day, always have the right intention. Of course, you always want to have the right intention when you're doing this. You don't want to forget about that. And I guess that kind of leads me to the next, because you're sacrificing a lot if you're doing that. So that leads me to my next question: is how far is this setting you back, doing all that in terms of your college years? Like, are you basically starting at zero again, or what?
Kind of, but the program I'm trying to do is only 3 years, so I guess I would be starting again. But it's so if I were to go college here, you know, I'd graduate 3 semesters from now. So overall, it only add like a semester and a half. And I mean, that's a semester and a half is a lot. I'm not trying to undersell that, but like I think for the reasons I'm trying to do this, it's a fair sacrifice. Like, you know, obviously it would have been much better if I made this decision sooner, but it's later than never, because like
everything happens for a reason.
Exactly. And the thing is, I still got 3 semesters left, which basically means I'm saving 3 semesters worth of international tuition. And, you know, I'd have to take summer classes and stuff too. So that'd probably come out like financially, that'd probably be like roughly about, you know, 75 to 80K, man. Like all in all, like if I'm being completely realistic, and that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money, man.
And
that's more money than it would take me 2 years in a like regular job to even get close to that without spending anything after
like,
taxes. Of
exactly.
course,
My dad's like, you know, like spending a lot on me, and you know, like, and with that money I'm saving, like if I go to school in India and like like especially living in Hyderabad, I could have like that's where I'll be. Like I'll be in Hyderabad, and, where I was born basically, and yeah, I could live like basically a baller lifestyle. Like, you know, like cost of living's pretty low there. The like and everything, you know, I could have a fun life, just like like enjoy the city life and everything,
Yeah.
and families close by, and I could have like basically not worry about money. And all in all expenses, it'll be probably like 45K at most, like the highest estimate. That's like a really high estimate.
So how big are you planning on balling when you're out there?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it'll be more of a thing where when I get there and see. Like, I'm not like trying to like.
You
go,
haven't planned it out.
I'm not really trying to like like go buy a mansion right away or anything.
Not right away.
Like, no,
Maybe
yeah.
like 2 or 3
Like,
weeks in.
No, I'm not like. Yeah.
Dude, that's too much time. 2 or 3 days in. Dude.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a couple hours.
All right, yeah. You got
Minutes
it.
if
check
he's
out
feeling
check out
it.
the city a little bit.
Yeah, just be like,
No.
oh, I'll take this one.
Yeah, no, but like yeah, I mean 45K. I'm still like I still have roughly 35 to 40K for my grad school, my MBA.
That's good.
And if I were to do like my MBA like at like a decent MBA school, like it'll cost me roughly about probably 50 to 60K all expenses combined. Especially like if I go to Canada, I don't know if you know University of Waterloo.
No.
They have a pretty decent MBA program. They're a pretty good school actually.
Yeah.
And like especially for
You
engineering.
heard of Fireloo though?
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Earthloo though.
Earth, Fire, Wind. And
Avatar Loo.
yeah, and yeah, like they have a pretty good MBA program, and like there's similar schools at that level, and they'll probably cost me all expenses combined, 50 to 60K. I still have to take out a small loan, I think.
Small
like-
loan of $1 million.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's what it's looking like right now. That's what it's looking at right now.
But yeah, I mean, and then I can just like that shouldn't be too hard to pay off if it's only 10-15K loan. Like that's any job will basically get me through that, inshallah.
Inshallah.
But inshallah, if I was to get into like the top into the top business schools in like the States, or I'm not talking about like Warren or something, that's like really like out of my league, I think. But inshallah, if I were to get into any of the
think
top,
like that, man. You gotta.
yeah, you know what, you're right, I'm gonna
You
get
got
into
it.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Inshallah,
Easy.
if I get into like the top 20 like schools,
Inshallah,
they
you will.
cost a lot. They cost
Yeah.
anywhere from like 160 to 200K all expenses combined. So I definitely had to take out a loan then.
Yeah.
But
It's worth
I think
it.
it'd be a worthy
Worthy
investment
investment. Yeah, definitely.
because like the starting salaries for those schools are like
Tasty.
120, 130K exactly. And I feel like that'd be a good direction to head in. But that's all like future me's problem.
Yeah.
Like right
You
now,
don't
me
gotta
doesn't
think
have
about
to,
that
yeah,
right now,
right now,
yeah.
me's just worrying about going back.
Mhm.
And school doesn't. Also, like the best part is school doesn't start till like, I think like July.
Mhm.
So till then, I'll get to spend a lot of time with my family. I'll get to not only that, but like I'll get to spend time on myself. Like I'll like get to like work out, build myself up, and like
That's
not
good.
only in like physically, but like like mentally and everything.
Yeah.
Again, better
very
myself for
important
a few
things, yeah.
months. And yeah, inshallah, you guys will be seeing a whole new
Dude,
me in a few
I'm
months.
so. I mean, I don't know if
New
I want
year, new
to see
him. New country, new him,
New
dude.
country,
Shit.
new me. Yeah,
all new everything, baby.
exactly.
I just wanted to ask you, how does that feel to kind of go back to where you were born, just come full circle? Like, it's pretty poetic. You know?
Yeah, I guess so. It's I did take a pretty long circle, but
Yeah.
I ended up there anyway.
Crazy.
But I mean, I feel at first I was kind of conflicted about it because like from where I am right now, I feel like it's like a new culture
Mm.
because like like I'm used to this
Used
whole
to,
like
yeah.
like Americanized culture,
McDonald's
even
and
in Saudi.
stuff,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure they
guess.
had
America.
McDonald's there.
shouldn't be an
Hamburgers,
issue.
hamburgers, French fries.
Okay, food
Chicken
shouldn't be an
nuggets.
issue. Food shouldn't like be the last of the issues.
What are you looking forward to eating out over there?
So many things, dude.
Let me get some
So many things like
Let me just-
kebabs, biryani, like they're known for
biryani.
that.
I know
and
about that.
Hyderabad,
Yeah,
yeah.
biryani.
Halim,
I know
like
that dish.
butter chicken,
Butter
Burhani.
chicken. Oh, biryani.
biryani.
I'll give you that biryani any day, baby.
Yuck.
You know what?
No, but like yeah, I mean I'm pretty excited to go back, because like it's still my culture at the end of the day. It's my people,
Yeah.
and I feel like and Hyderabad and India like are superpower 2020, on the rise.
Gang, gang.
You're gonna
We
be
out
seeing
here.
us hitting you up in 2020
Like, yo, can I come through, bro?
because it looks like even the United States is going downhill right now. You
Yeah,
never
for
know what
sure,
it's gonna be
definitely.
in like a couple years.
Yeah, no, but for sure, because like even Hyderabad like is like there, it's like a business center in India. Almost all the big companies are in the States are there. Microsoft, Google, Apple, like, and that's just from this side of the world. The thing is, Hyderabad and India are placed in such a way that there's business there from the other side of the world to the whole Asian market.
Well,
So like it's like a pretty interesting spot to be in.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you have businesses from all around the world sort of just like colliding into this melting pot.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
great melting pot of India.
It's just
That's what you always
curry.
hear about.
It's just
It's just
curry.
Yeah, it's just curry. That's it.
But yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. And that's interesting to see how like countries have been developing.
Yeah.
I feel like India is doing a great job, and
Yeah.
it's like, and it's not like it's a great leap forward. It's 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step back type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think every country goes through that, but I feel like what a lot of people forget about, India is that India's a relatively like child, like it's a child in respect to like other countries. Like I'm talking about like age,
Yeah. Yeah.
America's a few hundred years old. The
Old
UK is
ass.
like God knows how many old.
Yeah.
And
It's
like
pretty old.
yeah, exactly.
Almost
and,
as old as Handy.
Dude, I'm old. I'm wise.
Yeah, and India, like, it's like what 60, 70 years. They've come a long way since then. Like they are in like some respects of the word a superpower especially when it comes to like military and stuff.
Dang,
like,
not even 20.
and
Just right now.
economy, yeah, dude,
2017.
straight up. Come at me, bro.
3 years
Get
early.
it.
You're
Yeah.
not even gonna let us have Kanye.
You heard it here first, dude. Wow.
No, but
That's
yeah,
incredible.
and like like they've come a long way. They're on the global scale, and
It's
I
definitely interesting. I feel like there's that like Asian surge like that's going on.
exactly.
Like China,
Yeah.
Japan
India,
is one, right?
Japan
is an Asian
Japan is the
country, yeah.
craziest
Exactly.
example
Yeah,
that
that's
anyone
wild.
can ever
Yeah.
Japan
think
is
of.
insane.
That percentage of increase they had is just insane.
I saw it. Yeah.
And,
I
like-
saw the graph.
Yeah, and like I was actually talking to John Boyer, like the world regions professor here
Oh
at
yeah,
Tech.
man. That's my guy.
I was talking to him a while ago, and he was saying how he predicts that because I took this class freshman year over summer, and he was talking about how he predicts that in 50 years' time, how like the central currency right now is the American dollar, right?
Yeah.
He predicts that in 50 years it's gonna be. He doesn't know what it is gonna be, but it's gonna be something in the Asian market.
Interesting.
Isn't that
Like-
insane to think
Yeah.
about? Just like the entire economy just.
It's
completely-
refreshing. It's
Yeah, it just-
refreshing.
I'm
Just to
tired of
think
seeing
about.
green.
Shifts.
Yeah.
I got too much
It
green.
just completely shifts like from one corner of the world to the other.
Watch all that be false and it end up being Bitcoin or some shit like that.
Bitcoin is crazy. It's like
Dude, it's
I
not
feel
even
like,
stable
I feel
right
like
now.
Bitcoin is just a giant middle finger to anyone that thinks they know the business market, like any market whatsoever.
Yeah. It's like I don't know if it's like something that's revolutionary. Like it's definitely revolutionizing something. It's definitely changing
Cryptocurrency.
cryptocurrency.
it's
I mean,
crazy.
that's like a
Yeah.
whole other.
I think
podcast
what was it?
episode.
I think it was at the start of this. I think at the start of this year, it was worth worth less than $1,000, like $800, $900, and like I think it recently hit what 14K recently. That's insane. That's 1 year of growth, and that's just like insane to think about.
I mean, can you imagine? Like, there used to be websites that would like take a couple of minutes to farm you 1 Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Can you imagine to have just left your computer running on that website
Exactly, that's
ever
all they would
since
say.
then? Dude, I wouldn't even be on this goddamn podcast right now. I would
Thanks,
not
I'm
be
glad
on
to
it.
know it.
You could definitely
Glad to hear
you
that.
could definitely like afford better,
Yeah,
better
I'd
recording
be-
equipment.
Dude, we got the
Yeah.
dopest recording equipment here. You can hear how beautiful my voice is through this. It's very accurate,
and he does have
very
a pretty
sexy,
beautiful
very
voice.
sensual.
Very
Try-
not
try to
podcast
hold
friendly.
your- Yeah.
I
Maybe
don't
not
know.
listen to this at work. I don't know.
No, this is definitely. Remember, fuck your professor.
Dude, that's
This
school.
is- this
School
is
and work
school
is
material.
totally school material.
This is like.
Yeah, definitely school material.
I
not
mean,
work.
no. Like,
NSFW, bruh.
actually, VSFW, very safe for
Ooh,
work.
Interesting.
Because when your boss is sitting on your ass telling you what to do,
He's sitting on your ass?
Does he not have a chair?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
I feel like
okay.
it's warmer to probably just use your ass, you know?
He's like a seat warmer.
all
He's like,
right,
Get over here.
you want to get literal? You want to
Let's
get literal, right now?
bro.
You want to get literal right now?
I feel like I'm about to get roasted, guys.
I'll save you today. Anyway, like I was saying, when your boss is just pissing you off, this is what you come to when you don't want to listen to his bullshit. This is the podcast for you. Because remember, guys, it's Monday.
Monday's the worst day of the week.
The worst day of the week, but the best day. Why?
Because this gets freaking released. Can I hear this?
The podcast gets released on Mondays, and that's why Monday is the best
We
day.
just changed the game, honestly, with releasing this podcast on a Monday because you can no longer say as a fact that Mondays suck.
Now we balanced it out. We evened it out.
There you go. It's just another day now.
It's something to look forward to. And anyway, before we go off into our next short little segments, just wanted to thank Jaffar for everything that he had to say today.
God.
Wanted to thank him for coming out.
Thank you for being in my
And
life.
We'll elaborate on
Love
all this
guy.
stuff.
It's
And
amazing.
we'll have some more for you
For
guys.
sure. And
Wow.
I'd just like to
this
say
guy
I'd
so
like to
much.
thank Jaffar too.
He's an
Mhm. I think
amazing
he's a great
human being.
guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Great guy.
And I guess like the hosts are pretty great too. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Pretty awesome.
They're all right.
I mean, I don't know about one
of them
host.
is pretty
One of
shitty,
them,
honestly.
yeah,
He's
I agree with
fucking-
this. I agree with this shitty. I mean, with this
Oh.
host.
Whoa.
I mean, I'm not trying to say who I'm talking about.
Dude.
I'm not gonna say any names. I'm just saying I agree with him.
See this guy? We're on the same page here. Me and Abed.
But we're on the same page. But are we reading the same book, Hanny?
I feel like I'm reading a more sophisticated book than you are. You
What
might
are
be
you-
on like some Sesame Street type shit.
I'm actually reading Twilight
I'm
fan
reading
fiction.
Mein
I'm
Kampf.
reading Twilight fan fiction. I don't know what you're reading, but that's what I'm reading right now. All right. Anyway, so looking at the question my friend left me on the YouTube comments
yeah.
in the last episode,
Forgot about
and before we answer, we have to show what we have to say. Make sure to leave us responses and questions
Please
in the
do that.
comments.
Please.
I swear to God, it's
so
not that hard,
bored.
people.
I'm so
You can
bored.
make a little if you're
If
afraid
you ask more questions,
that we're gonna
like,
know.
Like if you ask more questions, then we would have more to talk about. Okay?
Exactly.
Did you guys
exactly.
know that like a big amount of questions
Mm-hmm.
can be answered with "not since the accident"?
Okay, okay, fair enough. I mean, let's try this. Let's try this on my friend's question, Mushfiq's question.
Yes.
Oh, damn.
Is
Okay.
water wet?
Not since the accident.
I don't know if that makes sense,
I think
but
that
I'll
makes
go
perfect
with
sense.
it. I don't know if
I
that
mean,
makes
it's
sense.
the guess, dude. We gotta go with the guess answer.
I think that makes perfect
I
sense.
think he's right.
Are we just leaving it at that?
Yeah.
I feel like
Are we
there's
not
nothing
having
else
a
to
debate
say
over
about
this?
that. I mean, I feel
No?
like he covered
I mean-
everything right there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Not since the accident. All right. So that sums up our little Q&A section. We had our very special guest answer that for you. So if you don't like that answer, you can get out.
Just get out, dude.
Actually, you might as well wait until the end of the
Why
episode.
do we have to
'cause
tell you
you've
this
been here all
at
along.
every episode? Like, just get out. Let me see.
Or leave a question. You have no options. All right.
I feel like
Anyway,
those are our
Absolutely
options.
right.
I wanna thank everybody for listening, and I wanna thank you guys for listening to today's episode, and I wanna thank Haney for being the greatest co-host on the planet, and I wanna thank Jaffar for being the greatest guest on the planet right now, and before.
He covered his bases.
Yo, my hear, like, I'm trying to hear, dude. I'm trying to hear. My hearing is, like, fading away, okay? And so before we call an end to this podcast, Jaffar, I want to ask you if you have anything to say to your friends who are here right now, or anybody who's ever helped you, or anybody who's ever looked out to you. And what do you want to say? What message do you want to leave with for everyone here at Virginia Tech?
Wow, that's a
Just on Earth. In
that's a
general.
deep that's a deep question, but
Take your time.
Straight from the heart,
Take
man.
your time, dude.
Straight from the heart.
dude,
You got a
just
big
to
one, so
keep
it shouldn't be that hard.
To keep it from my heart, I guess I just had to say like I had some of like the best years of my life so far here in Blacksburg,
about to
and
start
like
crying. Okay, hold
and
on.
like all the people
Get my tissues ready.
are absolutely fantastic. And like one of the reasons I like I left Blacksburg because I thought I was just tired of Blacksburg, but I'll never be tired of the people. like
God.
like MSA. Or not MSA. Like I made so many friends here
Yeah.
and there that like
Mhm.
they're
I'm not an
all
MSA,
they're
so
all they're all fantastic people, and like every single one of them, and and everyone in their own right is just as special to me as the next person, and
Oh, dude. I felt like I was kind of more special there.
no, and
This is
Henny,
not about
Henny
you,
definitely is very special to me.
Yeah,
I'm
his
not gonna
mom
lie.
says he's very special too.
It's
Anyway,
a different kind of
this is
special.
not about
We
you.
don't have to talk about that.
This is not about you, Henry.
Why
Let
gotta
this
call
guy
me
talk.
out right
No,
now,
but
dude.
yeah, no. If we're being real, like like Blacksburg has been like a fantastic place. I love the people here. I've made some fantastic friends here. Like I feel like I like to think these are bonds that are gonna last me a lifetime.
Mhm.
30, 40 years from now, like I would like to think, like I'll know like what's going on in everyone's life. We
Mhm.
might get distant. That's what life is. But like I just wish, and I hope that we're all still like only a phone call away and nothing more.
Mhm.
And like yeah, people have been like kind to me here, and I really hope I've been kind to them. And if I've caused any, any pain to them, like, I'd just like to apologize. Like, that was not my intention.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was, then fuck you.
There you go, dude.
No, just kidding. But like, yeah, no, pain was not my intention, and yeah, and I'd like to give like Henny obviously a special shout out. He's there in my times of need, and I'd like to give a few more people some shout outs, especially like 2 years ago. When my grandma passed away, I had a really hard time dealing with it, and it was just a really bad semester, and I could not have gotten through with it without without Idris, for example. Like I talked to him. There's nights when I used to talk to him. We used to start talking at like 11 or 12 and stay up till Fajr. It was, and he just put up with me for that, and I really respect him and love him for that. And like my roommate Aditya, who's not here right now, he's actually in California. He was there along with me the whole way, every step of the way, just like being there for me. And like and yeah, like without certain people through that time, I just would not have been able to make it through. Like, and that's all it is. And I'm glad I had those people with me all along. Like this is just like a small gesture, but like like people, like everyone was so nice to me then. Like I'd like to give a shout out to like the masjid and all those for like having like a special calling people out to make dua for my grandmother at that time. And I'd like to give a special shout out to actually Hiba and Shan. Like they saw me like outside crying, and I told them what had happened, and then they called me in, and they they're really nice. They gave me chai, and then they gave me some biryani and stuff too, and offered me that. And I was just like, in that moment, like that felt like it was just really heartwarming that people care about you, and it's just like, it's pretty awesome for me at the moment. And I think I've mentioned it to Hiba in the past, but like I feel like that deserves a shout out too. And like and there's so many numerous other people like that have helped me throughout that tough time, and I really didn't share it with too many people. So like I'm sure if I told it to more people would have helped too, because that's just what Blacksburg is. The community here is just amazing, and yeah, like that's all it is. And
that's that.
Yeah, and like even like Nida and Dalia and Asma and stuff, they like sent me cookies like when they realized what was going on. And like it's just like small acts of kindness can go a long way. Like like to them it probably like didn't mean that much, just like just sending cookies and stuff, right. But like to me it meant the world that they did that. Like just a small like, and I guess like that's like a good note to sort of end on. Like just a small gesture for someone, especially in a time of need, can go a long way.
That's the lesson of the day, people.
Yeah,
that's the lesson of the day. Is there anything else you like to say, or you think you got it?
I think I got it, dude, because like I just like most of the friends who I have here, they know who they are.
They already know.
They know who they are, and they know, and I hope they know that I love them and I respect them for what they are. And without them, like my time here would not have been even close to as fun as it was. And so to all you guys, you know who you are. Shout out to yourselves. But yeah, so
they got it.
And then yeah, I guess I will give you one shout out. So here goes. Ah!
Jesus.
That was a little literal shout out. All right.
Jeez, look at that sound wave.
And on that note, this is and
oh my god, my heart is still beating, pounding actually.
Okay, Henry, relax.
I can't breathe.
There's some glue in that bag. You can reach for it. Anyway, and on that note, this is where we want to end this podcast today. I want to thank everybody for listening, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And we'll definitely see you on the next episode of the Hole Punch podcast. Thank you.